Welcome to the Lynn Miller Room and this edition of the Eagle Sports Coaches Show. First segment, we'll talk golf with Dr. Rex Chaney, longtime coach here at Morehead State University. Not long time, but you've coached about every sport here at Morehead State at one time.
Just a few. I happen to be the young man on the totem pole, and they need a coach. They stick me over there. So, I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but at least I've done it.
The line I always hear about Coach Rex Chaney is the fact that you're an institution here. And then most people follow that with he probably should be institutionalized here.
Yeah.
So, but coach baseball here, longtime baseball coach basketball here, now a golf coach for many years. Let's start off the show with the fact that one of your former players had a big day yesterday out in California, Josh Teeter.
Josh Teeter had his best finish of his 3-year PGA tour, and it couldn't happen to a nicer fella. We're all proud of him. So I always call after he gets through with a tournament and say, congratulations on your finish. You're an Eagle.
Yep.
And
He's had a great career. I mean, people don't realize the coming up through the different tours, getting a chance to be on the PGA Tour, earning your PGA card, which is hard, keeping your PGA card, which may be harder.
That's true. Well, Josh is one of these people who came here and worked himself into a starting lineup, set several course records while he was here. Josh never did anything spectacular. He was a guy that go out there and put the ball in the fairway. If he missed a green, he'd get it up and down. In fact, yesterday, if you recall, his last 8 holes, he one-putted. Now, that's getting the ball up and down. He wasn't missing the greens far, but just enough where he had to get it on the green and then make the putt. And that turns into a tune of over $500,000.
That's not bad 4 days work. That's big time money. Finished the tournament -10 overall, -3 yesterday, finishing a tie for second. Of course, when you finish in a tie for second and the winner is Tiger Woods, that's a pretty good day's or a pretty good weekend's work.
Well, the last time Josh was up here, he came up and talked to the golf team and rode around. Well, I actually played with some of the kids, and I asked him, I said, why is it they televise and always picture Woods? They got him. And he said, Coach, I hope they continue to do that so he raises our pay. So he's not at all jealous of Tiger. He wants him out there, and that's good for the golf game.
Well, you mentioned about Josh earlier, the fact that kind of an interesting story how he ended up at Morehead State, because you went to recruit another teammate of his when you were recruiting him in high school.
I had several phone calls. Mike Fields, who played here, was head of the golf courses in Lexington at the time, and he called me about this young man, Henry Clay, their number 1 guy. And Henry Clay happened to be playing at Eagle Trace in Round County's tournament. So I went out to watch him, and I kept watching this kid behind him, and I liked the way he was putting the ball in the fairway. He was playing. He was like 1 or 2 under par at the time, and I asked somebody, and they said, well, that's his mother standing over there. So I went over and said, would your son, you think, like to go to college? And she said, no, he's going to sign a professional baseball contract. Evidently a good high school player. And I said, well, if he changes his mind or you can convince him that he needs to go to school, call me. Next morning she called. They came up that day, and the rest is history.
People don't realize just how much time a golfer puts in by himself, hitting buckets of balls or playing when you don't feel like playing. And it shows the commitment, I think, that Josh has and a lot of your players. I mean, you probably, and this not a knock on Josh, you probably coached better players, but maybe not had the drive that Josh had or the fact that he wasn't going to be denied.
Well, I think with Josh, it was a matter of having a goal. And he said to me the whole time, said, you know where I want to be. Well, we had Mike Mumfield here, who was all everything the OVC, could have walked out of here and got his tour card. But, marriage got in the way and this sort of thing, and you can't live their life for them. But here was Charlie Bowles that played the tour for 2 years. But keeping your card, making enough money to keep it, and Teeter just kept plugging. And he will do that as long as he's out there.
He has a chance to be one of the better Kentucky PGA players ever. Because you had the Kenny Perrys and the players from Western Kentucky and the Muds.
Yeah.
The fact that a lot of history with golfers in Kentucky, and Josh is still young enough and still getting better.
Oh yeah,
he can get a name for himself for a long time.
Well, Josh is that kind of person, and he's appreciative of everything that everybody at Morehead State did for him. And Josh is one of those people that eventually will give back. And he's been very kind to our players. And he's done a good job and will continue to do a good job.
That's what makes Morehead State a little special, the fact that, you have the alumni. You have the alumni in baseball, you have the alumni in football, and you have the alumni, in basketball that come back, want to share their stories with the younger players that are here now. And you're a freshman golfer coming to Morehead State, and Josh Teeter rolls in, and one day he's out there playing with the team and talking to the team. You kind of have to think about, well, he did it the right way,
yeah.
So this is the way I want to do it.
Well, it doesn't hurt to have a Josh Teeter out there when you start talking to kids, recruit. We have a young man who's a freshman and going to be a great golfer here from Pikeville, Kentucky.
Will Branham.
And will be all everything before he leaves here if he continues to work like he has been. And I'm sure he came here because UK had offered him, Akron had offered him, and we've got the Hog boy from down at Salt Lick, Logan Hogg, a freshman who is in the top 3 of our stroke average. And that's unusual for a freshman because we got 3 seniors. So those kids, I'm sure, that had Josh Teeter. In fact, they've told me, well, how did you get Josh to do it? Well, I didn't get Josh to do it. Josh did it. But you provide the motivation. Continue to talk about work ethic, 30 hours a week. We can only mandate 20. So it's one of those deals where if you can put a word or two in there saying this is the way it has to get done, now you figure out what you need to do to get it done, and that's what he's done.
Josh Teeter, of course, as we were talking to Dr. Rex Chaney, golf coach here at Morehead State University, finishing second yesterday. You take a look at Josh, and then you take a look at your other lives throughout the coaching ranks here at Morehead State. Josh going to make a name for himself, and you had several baseball players. I always get into the Doyles. Denny Doyle, one of my favorites growing up. The fact that you in the mid '60s had some very, very good baseball teams. We'll be talking to Coach McGuire here in a second, but you turn TV on sometimes when I was growing up, and you saw those Morehead boys on TV.
Well, Denny Doyle played 11, 12 years in the major leagues, played in the World Series. Doyle was a worker, but Doyle quit because I moved him from pitching and put him in second base. He went home and his daddy called me, and of course that's a long story that we're not going to get into. But he came back and he wore me out hitting him ground balls so he could make the double play, so he knew. And we had 19 kids out of that bunch signed professional contracts. Charlie Adkins, one of your old coaches.
Yep.
Charlie, if he hadn't busted his elbow, he was going to be pitching to Johnny Bench.
Well, he played with Bench, played with Carbo, played in the Reds organization. Another one of my former coaches played for you, thinks the world of you, Mike Collins. The fact that Coach Collins was a catcher, a switch-hitting catcher. Played in the Mets and Phillies organization, caught Seaver and Ryan early on, but they all talked good about Morehead State, and that's what it's all about. And that's through your years what's been so great about working with you, Coach. The fact that so many of these young players who come to Morehead State become young men, and I think you're probably more proud of what they've become after they were athletes than their time here.
Well, if you recruit good people who have good families, the kids, I've always liked the kids from Charlie Adkins' territory, Mike Collins' territory, Doyle's territory. These kids came up appreciating what people were trying to do for them. and they work for you. You provide the opportunity. If they take advantage of it, they can do whatever they want to do.
Coming up, the golf season will tee off in March. You'll be in Orlando, Florida, coming up March 4th through the 6th. Golf season just around the bend. You never know that with last week's cold weather, but I guess the young men are hitting Eagle Trace or doing as much work as they can.
Well, we were out there yesterday. Of course, it rained, but we still got out on the course and hit drivers, and we couldn't go on the greens because they were underwater. But that tournament you just mentioned in Florida, we switched it to a tournament March the 16th, 17th, 18th at Mission Inn.
Okay.
Which is a much better tournament. This tournament didn't have enough teams to make, so we had to switch it. But we go to Jackson, Tennessee, which is Southwest Tennessee first, play in Tennessee Martin's tournament. Then we go to Florida to 2 straight weeks. We're in Fort Lauderdale 1 week and Mission Inn the week before. And then we're in Tennessee, Alabama. So we try to go south to get a little better weather.
Well, yeah, it's about like we heard last week with David Williams of softball. They're going to start the first month on the road so they can get some games in.
Yeah.
When you're a golfer, a baseball player, a softball player, this far north, even though we're not really far north, February and March, weather can play hamper to your schedule.
Well, the old coach is frozen enough out there, so I've decided we're going south early and then play where we have to.
Early and often.
Early and often, right.
Well, you mentioned a couple of your players. Talk about, you mentioned your seniors. Who do we need to look for on your roster this year to do good?
Jared Flannery he has become our leader. He's from Sandy Hook. He's the first Division I golfer, first person that's ever signed a Division I Grant 8 out of Sandy Hook. And we've got a kid from Olive Hill named Matthew Logan. And Matt has become a very, very good golfer. Sam Zernhill is a senior from Louisville. And Sam came in a little bit behind schedule in the fall, but Sam's a good player. And we have one junior who didn't have a good fall. We have one sophomore, Stacy, who's from here in Round County, and Stacy could be a great golfer if you put the work in. He's got a lot of interest, and I've talked to him about him. But we have actually 4 freshmen. One of them's got to have surgery on his back, and it's probably going to be medically redshirted, Michael Fehrenbacher. But we have Branham that we've mentioned before from Pikeville, who can be whatever he'll allow himself to be. We've got Logan Hogg from Salt Lick, who can be as good as he gets, and he's a 4.0 student. And we have a redshirt freshman from Richmond who has come miles and will be playing a lot of tournaments this spring. Hopefully, we go into the OVC, we'll have 2 seniors, 3 freshmen playing. That's what it looks like now.
Of course, the OVC in April 25th through 27th down in Dixon, Tennessee. Coach, quickly, OVC race, usually we talk about the teams that are south leading the pack.
Well, the best team in the fall in the OVC was Jacksonville State. They have 5 foreign kids, and all 5 of them are older, and they can play. Then I think it's a toss-up. You've got Mary, who played well in the fall. You got Tennessee Martin, who played well in the fall. And you got Austin P., who at times played well in the fall. So any number of teams can play, but we are pointed toward having our kids prepared to play. And I think we'll be very competitive come OVC time.
Coach, always a pleasure you taking time to talk with us. We got a little baseball in again. We always get baseball in. I mean, I don't know
if Coach McGuire appreciates that.
History of Morehead State. I mean, how long have you been here? Over more than 50 years.
I came here in 1960.
So it's been a little while.
Yeah, but I've enjoyed it, or I wouldn't be doing it. And I love Morehead State.
Dr. Rex Chaney, golf coach here at Morehead State University. We'll come back with more. This is the Eagle Sports Coaches Show.